and she thought that anyway. Hey everyone, Brandon here. Now, don't adjust your sets. I know it looks different. This face was not made for 4K, but I decided to change it up a little bit and use my phone instead of my computer, and it is the jankiest setup behind the scenes here. I'm just thankful you don't see it. Yeah, and don't worry about the fact that it says Wonka behind me. That was just the last video that we recorded, and I just really like it. You know, I want to hold on to it as long as I can, savor it before I have to erase it, because that took a while. It's like fading a little bit, but that took a while to write down and get it as accurate as possible. But anywho, let's get started. So this is a video I wanted to make since Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom came out. No, it's not deja vu. You're not seeing a video you've already seen before. I just touched on it briefly in the short that I made that day of the movie's release. And I'm just really wondering what's going on with modern audiences, because there's something that's happening that is becoming more and more and more of an issue I've started to notice. But that is the fact that we're in this society now where things are either fantastic, they're the greatest movie ever, or they are awful, the worst movie ever. There's just no in between. I just don't get that. And in the case of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which I will talk about at the end of this video, it's not going to be like a traditional review or a traditional first thoughts, simply because, one, with this video being 4K, I don't think my computer can handle it. It's already out of space. Two, I'm already working on too many projects. I don't need more projects where I have to add in photos, videos, all of that kind of stuff that, you know, if you're a video editor, it takes a lot of time, right? Especially when you're as particular as I am. And I just don't want to do that. So it's going to be just me talking about it very informally. You'll get my thoughts and opinions on the movie after I go on this rant that I'm going to go on. So you don't have to stay for that, but, you know, I hope you stay for this first part at least. So it's becoming more and more clear to me that there's an issue going on with modern audiences, unfortunately, and I'm not completely ignorant to it, but it didn't seem like it was as much of an issue as it is until the movie Thanksgiving came out. Now, how is that related? Well, I'll tell you. So there's somebody we work with. I'm not going to say her name and throw her under the bus like this. And she's not the only one that thought this way either. She saw the movie and she's like,
"Oh, have you seen this movie that's out? It's called Thanksgiving."
And I was like, no, I haven't seen it yet. What did you think about it? And she was like,
"Oh, it's shit. Absolutely terrible."
I was like, oh, really? And she's just like,
Yeah, it's awful. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
okay. I was looking forward to this movie, so that was disappointing to hear. However, I ended up going to see it, and I found it very enjoyable. Was it the greatest movie ever? Absolutely not. But it was pretty good. It was fine, okay, whatever you want to call it, decent. And so I came back in the next day, and I was like, hey, I saw Thanksgiving, and I thought it was pretty good. And she proceeded to tell me that she thought it was awful. Now remember, she said it was one of the worst movies that she's ever seen, and that was just, that was because of one moment in the movie. I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, but there is a death where a woman basically gets cut in half by a dumpster. And my coworker thought that the visual effects for that scene were so terrible that made the movie itself terrible. That one moment, it's like 20 seconds, if that, of screen time, and now all of a sudden this movie is the worst movie she's ever seen. And it seems like this is becoming a prominent issue with moviegoers, especially the younger crowd, and it's just not realistic. So I bring this up because it resurfaced with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, right? The release of that movie. And it first started off with the fact that test audiences were saying that it was like one of the worst things ever. You know, they were acting like it was like a plague on humanity or something. And then this was perpetuated by Jeremy Johns, a very notable YouTuber. So I'm thinking, wow, judging by everything I'm hearing, this movie must be really, really bad. And then I see it and I'm like, that's not that bad. In fact, I really liked certain parts of it. What's going on here? I was shocked. I was surprised. And it really got me thinking, which is why I talked about this in the short I did. And I don't know what my point about all of this is, other than it's something that we have to be aware of, I feel, as moviegoers, as reviewers. We have to be aware of this. We have to be careful not to be over dramatic just for views or clicks or whatever. Like, this is actually hurting these movies. It's stopping them from potentially succeeding. Now, I know WB has tons of issues going on that is unrelated to this and also slightly related to this. I'm not saying them in particular, like, who cares if this movie fails, but this could be a detriment for other movies, especially independent movies. Like, this could become a real issue if we don't try to stifle it as quickly as we possibly can. I always try to be sure to give my honest opinions on things. And my honest opinion is that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is okay. I mean, it's like a 6 out of 10 movie. And it's not great. I might watch it once or twice more in my entire lifetime, but it's not something that is as bad as people are making it out to be either. And I'm sure right around the corner is another movie that gets treated like this by moviegoers. So I think it's something that we just have to be aware of. Have you guys noticed any issues pertaining to this? Or am I crazy? I mean, comment below, let me know what you think about all this. Maybe you're one of these people that thinks like this, where you're like, something is either great or it's terrible, there's no in between, and try to explain to me why you think that way. You know, try to sell me on this. Let's pretend like I'm Steven Crowder. I'm like, movies can be just okay, change my mind. So I'm gonna move into a little bit of a review for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Honestly, this is the only time I'm really going to be able to talk about it, and it's not because I dislike the movie. I already said I thought it was decent. We just have too many projects that are on hold at the moment, like best movies of 2023, worst movies of 2023, you know, our top 10 lists for the end of the year here. I feel like as long as we get it out before award season, we're okay. So there's probably not going to be a lot of photos or anything like that because I want to get this review out in a timely manner, and I don't want to be held back because of that stuff. So very much like I talked about, there was this word being thrown around for this movie that it was unreleasable. And if you've seen it, you know that's not true. I mean, it's not the worst movie of the year. It's not the worst DCEU movie. Might not even be the worst DCEU movie of this year. I'm just saying. You know, as big of a fan as I am of DC, I mean, I'll be the first to admit there's some bad DC movies out there. And I don't feel like this is one of them, you know? And a lot has been made about this, like, you know, buddy cop comedy kind of thing. And really, that's like 30 minutes of the movie. And I think that they could have done even more of it. You have Arthur and Orm, and you know, they're half brothers, and the two of them together are an odd couple. A lot of fun comes from that, if I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, something that seems sort of strange to me is that people always talk about how they want something new. Do something new. Stop doing the exact same thing, especially when it comes to superhero movies. And unfortunately, when you do something new, people don't like that either. They want you to go back and do the old thing again. And this is an example of that, I think, with this movie, because it is very much something new, and the general movie-going audience doesn't like it. It is gorgeous as far as the cinematography goes. There are some really, really, really beautiful looking, very colorful scenes in the film, and I thought that was great. The music, not just the soundtrack, but the musical score as well as the sound design was flawless. I saw it in Dolby, and it utilized the Dolby surround sound, shaky seats thing very, very well. Probably the best I've ever seen a movie utilize Dolby. And I'm not just saying that, I'm serious. That's really all as far as the good of the movie. I mean, it's relatively funny, it's well written for the most part. Something that I'm mixed on is the fact that Amber Heard is actually in this movie quite a bit. Now, I saw Popcorn Planet, Andy Signor's video, and he was really, really pissed about the fact that Amber Heard could have been removed from this movie because, he's like, she's barely in it. She's just in, cameos throughout the entire movie. And yeah, that's true. But altogether, it's probably like 10 minutes of screen time. And that surprised me because I was expecting like 2 minutes of screen time, if that, right? So it makes me wonder how much she was in the original product because, I mean, she shows up in this movie a good amount, and it's hard to overlook everything she did to Johnny Depp. When you see her, she's a bit of a monster. So as far as bad goes, there's some weird moments where you can tell, a la Justice League. I'd be lying if I said this was a Zack Snyder's Justice League shirt. I don't have an excuse for why I'm wearing this. This is a Justice League shirt, and I despise that movie, but, it's the only Justice League shirt I could find. And there's some parts in Aquaman The Lost Kingdom that really remind me of Justice League because there are some moments of reshoots where it is blatantly obvious that that's what you're seeing are reshoots. Like, there's a moment in the movie where a character makes a decision. It's a very strong decision. And then they change their minds 3 seconds later. And I thought that was so weird. And it's just like, that was obviously not supposed to happen because if you don't know, this movie was originally supposed to come out before The Flash and Batman was going to be in it. Firstly, it was going to be Michael Keaton, and then the Batgirl movie and all that was scrapped, and the original plans to have Michael Keaton be like the DCEU Batman, that was scrapped as well. So they ended up reshooting those scenes with Ben Affleck, and they were going to use that. But then now Ben Affleck is stuck in a different universe now because of The Flash, so they had to take out all that stuff. And that's probably why the movie is on the shorter side as well. It's just a shame. I think it would have been really cool to see those moments with Batman. Apparently he had like an underwater suit and stuff. I don't know. Would have been cool. And all that was taken out at James Gunn's behest. So it didn't give any unrealistic expectations for the future or whatever. I mean, we already know that this is all being reset, that the DCU is the next chapter, so they could have put whatever in this movie. The last thing I wanted to really talk about is the fact that this movie, it has no post-credit scenes, it has one mid-credit scene, and it's nothing that sets up anything at all. It's just putting the button on a joke that is throughout the entire movie. Basically, it's bringing a joke full circle. Very MCU. And they don't take the opportunity to set up the DCU whatsoever. That seems strange to me because, let's be honest, I'm sad that the DCEU, this thing that's been around for 10 years that never really got the opportunity to flourish, I'm sad that it's ending, but I'm willing to give the DCU a little bit of a chance before I fully close the door on it. And I would have liked to see how the gap is going to be bridged here because the next thing we're seeing is going to be something from the DCU. So come on, James Gunn, show us how everything resets, please. If you think, hey, it all reset with The Flash, isn't George Clooney Batman now? No, that was just for a joke. For the lulz, as the kids say. So yeah, I thought that was a massively missed opportunity. And this is probably the last time we're going to see Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry Aquaman. So I'm hoping that people see it out of just sheer morbid curiosity and they make up their mind for themselves. If you see it and you don't like it, then that's one thing. But don't listen to some of these people out there like Jeremy Jahns. I beg of you. And that's not for WB's sake either. I mean, screw WB, screw David Zaslav, screw James Gunn. Just do it for yourself and for the future of movies in general. But yeah, I appreciate you sitting through this video, watching me go on this rant. Comment below. Let me know, what do you think about this whole ideology of movies and just everything in general either being the greatest or the worst, and the fact that there is no gray area in between? And do you subscribe to this belief? Let me know. I'm very interested in all of this. And have you seen Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? If you have, what did you think about it? Let me know that down below as well. All right. Bye, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. And I hope everybody had a nice, safe holiday.